In your semi-annual report's introduction letter, you recommend 4 changes to the Dodd-Frank Act. The first one is to fund the Bureau through congressional appropriations. Second one is to require legislative approval of major rules. The third recommendation is to ensure that the Director answers to the President in the exercise of executive authority. And the fourth is to create an independent Inspector General for the Bureau. Could you take a minute or two and explain how important that fourth recommendation is about an independent, by an Inspector General?
Sure, and I want to make one thing perfectly clear. This is not to denigrate the work that the Inspector General has done. I share an Inspector General right now with the Federal Reserve Board, and have absolutely no complaints about the service that I have received from them. So this is not a personal attack on the IG. I will tell you that I think in the long run it serves this agency, this Bureau, better to have our own IG who is dedicated to what we do, who is familiar and focused with what we do exclusively. And I also point out to you, Senator, that it is a cost-reducing move for us to have our own IG. I think we save about $2 million a year in our analysis. I honestly don't know what the objection is to why you wouldn't give us our own Inspector General. It makes me wonder. Well, it makes me wonder why we couldn't get our own Inspector General. I don't know how often executive agencies come to you and say, please give me more IG oversight, give me my own. But for some reason, that appears to be controversial to some folks, and I don't understand why.
Well, thank you. I don't sometimes understand the disagreements we have up here either, but I do agree with your recommendation here, and I point out this would be an independent Inspector General that you're requesting.
Yes, sir.
We will see if we can find a pathway on that. In my opening remarks, I talked about data collection. I've long been concerned about the ever-increasing amounts of big data collected by both private sector companies and by the government. The CFPB's data collection has been especially concerning to me because of how broad it was and concerns that I held about the fact that it was not appropriately being managed. And in fact, some of our evaluation has proven that to be the case. In light of the high-profile cyber attacks that we've seen recently, like the Equifax breach, the OPM data breach, and recent news about Facebook, and the list continues to grow, I'd like to ask you to tell me, how can the CFPB's data collection process be narrowed and enhanced to better protect consumers' personal information?
We're in the process right now, Mr. Chairman, of asking those exact same questions for the reasons that you raised. When I got there, the 2 priorities that the previous IG reports had sort of brought to light within the Bureau was the travel card. There's some potential difficulties there, and our data security. And for that reason, I immediately instituted a data collection freeze until I could get my arms around what the scope of the difficulty was. I met with the IG. We talked privately about what the IG told me because I don't want to talk about it publicly. But after the meeting with the IG, what we decided to do is, okay, we'll go ahead and continue some data collection as it's necessary to our enforcement. And we've taken some steps to work with our sister agencies, for example, the Department of Justice. And then we've also changed some of our practices in terms of looking at data but not collecting it. I heard a great expression yesterday, which you don't have to protect what you don't have. So there's stuff we have to see, but not stuff we have to keep. We've also hired an outside party, I believe it's with the Department of Defense, to see if they can test the integrity of our system, sort of a white hat hacker type of situation, as we try and get a better handle on what we can do. Until I nail it down, and until I know that we're holding ourselves to at least as high a standard as we intend to hold the people we oversee, we are trying to be extraordinarily judicious in the amount of data that we take, the scope of the data that we take in, and how we keep that data. And we'll continue to keep Congress up to speed. I think we've commissioned a report on data sources and uses that we will make available to you and to the public once it's completed.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'll just indicate to you, I have been focused on this with regard to the CFPB for some time. My understanding is that it was the objective, and perhaps an achieved objective, for the CFPB to collecting data on somewhere in the neighborhood of about 900 million credit card accounts. Yeah. And I don't think most people in America realize that there's an extremely high likelihood that every time they swipe their credit card, the CFPB collects their data. That single fact alone, to me, is alarming. And so I would like to see your evaluation of exactly what is being collected, whether there's a justification for collecting it, and whether there are adequate safeguards in place.
And we absolutely share your concern, and I hope that we'll have bipartisan support if we have suggestions on how to fix our systems.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.